Next, we have David Down, Senior Architect, Urban Design Coordinator, Urban Design and Heritage, City of Calgary. David.
Thanks, Lance. And thanks, Bev. Always a hard act to follow. I think she sets a very high standard for us. And I have to say that the work that Bev does and all of EVDS does is a tremendous resource for the City of Calgary. And we really do appreciate and perhaps don't utilize that resource as often as much as we should. And we really have to do more of that. And that's what events like this are all about. So in answer to your question, all in good time. But people don't like to hear that. They want it now. Sorry, I'm just going to adjust this. So as mentioned, Senior Architect, Urban Designer, City of Calgary, and I am fortunate today to represent the municipal government side of the equation. And as I think I mentioned before, in so doing, I'm representing the work of a huge number of professionals with a huge variety of expertise. It may seem at times that down at City Hall that we're not all pulling in the same direction. But in fact, we are all working towards and required to work towards a single objective, or perhaps a set of objectives that is our combined Calgary Municipal Development Plan and Calgary Transportation Plan. So I'm going to spend a bit of time talking to you about that today. It's just, oops. Oh, we've got some animation. There you go, keep you awake. I'll start with a bit of an apology, because I saw Rollin, and Rollin is always telling us, keep your PowerPoint slides to the minimum number of words. People don't have long attention spans, but many of you are academics. You're all learned people. You have long attention spans. So I broke that cardinal rule about minimal words and maximum images per slide, although I've got lots of nice images. At least in the beginning of this presentation, there will be a lot of words, but in this case, the words are critical. They're all words from our municipal development plan that I'm going to be talking to you about today to kind of set the stage for the city. Because that municipal development plan and Calgary Transportation Plan provide the fundamental direction for all the work that we do at City Hall. It's approved by council. It was the result of extensive engagement with the public and intense discussion with industry. The result represents the collective will of a large number of Calgarians. Maybe not all, but a large number. And it's not just council, and it's not just planners, it's not just transportation planners that dreamed this stuff up. And you've all heard about Imagine Calgary and the number of people that were involved in that and the subsequent planet process. There's a lot of people that were involved in coming up with this plan. So in my mind, it's a form of contract between City Hall and the public. But at the very least, it represents a shared set of aspirations. So like any contract, you have to read the words. So I'm going to ask you to read some of these words as we go through this. But let's just start with the 7 MDP goals. Prosperous economy, compact city, great communities, good urban design, connecting to the city, greening the city, and perhaps most importantly of all, managing growth and change. When I started to look at this and think, which of these has anything to do with building healthier communities or providing healthier lifestyle choices, it became quite obvious that all of them do. And so I'm going to just skip through a number of these, and if I can make it work, there we go. Compact city, that's a pretty obvious one. Direct future growth of the city in a way that fosters a more compact, efficient use of land, creates complete communities, allows for greater mobility choices, and enhances the vitality and character in local neighborhoods. It's all about density of uses, not just density of housing, but density of uses. And we're not talking about completely densifying all of our single-family neighborhoods. We know that people will still use automobiles. We know that there will still be single-family neighborhoods, but we're talking about building them in a way that they're connected, that you have mobility choices. You can walk between things. And we've heard this many times already today, the Park Once idea. You can walk between communities. Everything's connected. Everything's pedestrian-oriented. Everything's transit-supportive. Everything's cycle-supportive. So the more compact the city, the more these things are possible. Sorry, this is taking a bit of work to change. Creating great communities by maintaining quality living and working environments, improving housing diversity and choice. And we've heard about that as well. Housing diversity is going to be a huge issue for us. We'll talk about that a bit more later. Respecting and enhancing neighborhood character and vitality, that comes into the whole heritage argument as well. That's not just physical health, that's mental health. We all want attractive places to live. We all want attractive places to walk. Our heritage resources and our cultural landscapes, our heritage landscapes, are all part of that. And you can see the big trees that we're losing as we redevelop established neighborhoods is a bit of a bugbear of mine. Good urban design, of course, I'll talk about this probably more than anything else. It's just my particular area of interest, but again, that goes not just to physical health and walkability, it goes to mental health as well. Walkability is so important for us because I think if we're going to imagine a more compact city, we have to start with, our established neighborhoods and connecting our established neighborhoods and making people want to get out of their cars and want to walk. So promote site and building design that contributes to high quality living environments and attractive, walkable, diverse neighborhoods and communities. And again, this comes back to so much of what Bev was talking about and we are working towards, not just in the design of new communities, which I'm going to let Doug talk about, but in how we reimagine some of our existing communities as well. Connecting the city, this is really important, our transportation and public realm hierarchy, our mobility triangle, which now factors in many of our documents, and Joe Olson and many other transportation planners are here as well, and they treat this triangle also with great respect. At the highest level of importance are pedestrians, then cycles, then public transit, all the way down to the single occupancy vehicles, and this is a goal that we're working towards. Again, not always a popular choice in everybody's mind, but an idea that is firmly implanted in our work, and we're hoping we're able to firmly implant it or implant it more firmly in the minds of the public as we work towards achieving it. But these things take time. I'm clicking. Okay. So Joe Olson is here and his comrades. Complete Streets is a fantastic document that is now at completion, which talks about creating a palette of street types which encourage a variety of mobility types. Improve pedestrian realm, include cycle realm, at the same time dealing with automobile and transit issues as well, standardizing the way we apply these, and inventing new types where new types are needed to deal with some of these issues. Corridor program, this is in its infancy, but this is an action item directly out of the municipal development plan, which talks about, as part of a more compact city, redeveloping, intensifying along transportation corridors and at transportation nodes. And this is not at all an easy task when these transportation corridors are through existing established neighborhoods. So we're embarking on a very large multi-year program to imagine the land use impacts, the transportation impacts, the incentive ideas about how to encourage these types of development. And these are the places where we'll get mixed use, where we'll get housing choice, and we'll get more diversity within the established neighborhoods and within the already built up parts of the city. These little pauses are just for you to think about what I'm saying, maybe. Complete communities, housing diversification. This slide, these graphics are really just about older adult housing, in fact, because our aging population is going to demand a different type of housing in the future. And the darker tones on these maps just indicate the higher density of over 75 population, the change between 2009 and 2039. If you look at the smaller dots on there, if you can see them, that's where the seniors-related housing facilities are located. And you can see that currently they're not located particularly where those larger densities of seniors are going to be. So I thought that that was a pretty dramatic indication of how our population is going to be changing. That's if all of these seniors remained in those neighborhoods. But housing diversification is key to a lot of the policies and incentives that we're working on. Cycling strategy, lots of cycling in the news because of the Center City Cycle Track discussions and how that may or may not impact automobile traffic. If you're going to have a citywide cycling strategy, if you're going to encourage people to get out of their cars, those that want to choose that, if you're going to encourage them to drive to work, you've got to get them safely and comfortably into your downtown core, and that is the most difficult challenge now, is people don't want to cycle in the downtown core, or many people don't. So a cycle track network through the center city that gets people to and from the core was seen as a high priority, and council is debating that. You can see the difference in the 7th Avenue landscape with the addition of the cycle track, and that cycle track has been piloted, completed, and is very successful. So you'll see a lot of public discussion about the value of giving a very small percentage of your road space to cycles. That percentage of road space is kind of equivalent to the percentage of cyclists using it. It's not a huge bite out of the automobile space, but as you know, in Calgary, that's something that's very controversial if you impact either automobile space or parking, driving or parking at all. So look forward to more discussion, but really it's the right thing to do. A few policy pieces about creating a more walkable and more attractive and more accessible city. This is Downtown Underpass Urban Design Guidelines. If we're going to get people living in high density in the Beltline and not driving to work, which some of them do, drive downtown, we have to make it comfortable for them to walk. And fear of walking through our dark and scary underpasses is what prevents a lot of people from walking those very short distances. So we have a program in place to improve the walkability, to improve the comfort, brightness, and attractiveness of all of the underpasses which go underneath the railway tracks. And that will be rolling out over the next few years, beginning with the First Street Underpass Rehabilitation, which will be under construction soon. And that's probably the darkest, wettest, worst of them all, tightest of them all. And so we went there first, and there's a very interesting architectural solution to that. And we're including cycling facilities in these rehabilitations as well. Bev talked about why can't we make all of the streets downtown more walkable? And we do have a program in place to certainly improve the public realm downtown over time, particularly those corridors, the north-south corridors that connect the higher density housing areas in the Beltline with the river and downtown. So 8th Street Corridor is the first of those, and the design is now being completed for that pedestrian and cycle realm upgrade, and it includes a railway underpass as well. And other pieces about, this is the 13th Avenue Greenway, which is just about encouraging people to walk, cycle, skateboard at a more recreational level through a dense part of the city, or a part of the city that's seen to be dense if it builds out to the projected density. So it's the city going in and providing a little bit of green infrastructure in an area that's going to take a lot of population. New parks, of course, very important. Other public spaces, an important part of the municipal development plan. And as we've already heard, an important part of densifying a city is including nature and access to nature. And on the right-hand side of that slide is just a few of some of those new parks and pedestrian spaces that are being built in the denser part of the city as well. Large commercial urban design guideline. So we can't do everything in the center of the city, even though that's where the bulk of the high density is going. We really have to look at our suburban areas as well. And our large commercial sites are seen as perhaps not developed to the intensity they could be developed. But that really wasn't the biggest problem that we had to deal with on them. Is we saw them as disconnected from community, and the image on the top of the slide indicates that, disconnected from their adjacent communities and difficult to walk within. So again, we heard Joyce talk about Park Once, and Lotar's here. Lotar has headed up this project where we developed a set of urban design guidelines that would encourage the development community to see their large commercial sites as pedestrian friendly, as more Main Street oriented, and as places where people didn't have to get in their car to get from the HomeSense to the Walmart. They could actually walk comfortably. There'd be some public spaces, some smaller uses as well. This applies not just to new large commercial sites, but the redevelopment of existing commercial sites, which, because many of them are now surrounded by higher intensity, higher density uses, They're seen as huge opportunities for intensification. And so we've talked to a number of developers and property owners about the redevelopment of these sites to be more pedestrian-oriented, to be more connected to their communities, and to be more attractive overall. A spectacular example is the Brentwood Station plan. There's a shopping mall built, probably originally started in the 50s, but it's on a major transportation corridor. It's on the train. It's beside the university. It's beside the University Research Park, so there's an employment source there as well. Huge opportunity, and through much public discussion, a high-intensity node has been created there and is under construction. And of course, the sales of the condo units were spectacularly fast because everybody saw the benefit in owning a unit that is so close to all of those amenities. So the municipal development plan envisions maybe not this intensity or density at every activity center or transportation node, but this as an example of what could happen with many of them in the future. More about just the idea of being more comfortable in the city, an Illumination Guideline, which the urban design team worked on as well. And this is just about the fact that we are a dark place for much of the year. We have long, dark, cold nights, and whatever we can do to keep people outdoors, lighting is a big part of that. And we didn't have any kind of guidance for our development industry or for our city projects on how we might use light to enliven the night environment. And so this Illumination Guideline provides that. And we did talk about nature in the city as well. I didn't actually include it in here, but we created a bird-friendly guideline as well because avian fatalities are a big problem in urban areas, and it ties into building illumination. So we have a guideline on how to protect migratory birds in the city as well, because we are also on major north-south North American migratory route. And there's an example of the Illumination Guideline at work, also an example of using illumination to highlight a heritage resource in the city. And these are low energy LED fixtures. It's a much more efficient source of lighting, but really highlights a huge historic resource and makes it a pleasure, more of a pleasure, to cross that and enjoy it from afar. So this is only a piece of the many, many aspects of the municipal development plan that we have to deal with. And it's only a small sample of the projects that are ongoing throughout the city in the various departments to help to realize the expectations of the municipal development plan. And I guess I would segue to Doug Layton, because it's really his job to respond to those expectations from a private development point of view. And a lot of what we do is kind of negotiating the best solution based on what our expectations are and what's appropriate to market expectations as well. So thank you very much.